So this is deep stretch. The nice thing about this style of class I like to think is that though it's holding a bit, it's like gooey and stretchy. There's a little bit of effort, so it's really harmonious practice. Um, our pose we're going to focus on is holding for a little bit, a side bend. So if you have a couple blankets, even a bolster, a couple blocks, grab all your props, bring them onto your mat. Um, and we're going to get started today in a just resting on our backs, Shavasana, to get started. I like my hands down by my hips, but you might like your hands on your stomach, or one hand on your heart, one hand on your stomach. So set up for yourself there. You can have a blanket behind the head and just keep your props close by. If you have that playlist, you can start it if you haven't already. The idea, the focus this week is around, well, it's focus, it's drishti. And often we talk about drishti as like where we plant our gaze, where we look to. I like to, offer to my students something that resonated with me, which is when the eyes wander, the mind wanders. And so you may start to put that together as when you're kind of overthinking something in a pose in particular, the eyes might be shifting, or when it's having trouble focusing physically on where you're experiencing, maybe that head's just kind of bopping around and we're looking out aimlessly. And we can use our sight to create that focus. Where we put our sight affects everything that comes after it. Where we put our attention takes our energy. So we want to incorporate those things as we slow down. Focus on this first pose, laying down on your backs. Take a scan of the body. Take note of the air around the skin, how the room that you're in feels. Work through your senses. What do you smell, hear? Any lingering taste on the palate? Maybe you have like a lotion on, or moisturizer oil. You can pick up whiffs of it when you slow down. You focus in. That's what this theme has been over this month. We've been going through Capricorn season. The ability to root into what we'd like to create, to really settle into it. So we focus on it. And part of focusing is realizing where we want to put our energy and maybe where we don't want to be drained of our energy. Let's take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Feel your toes, the space between them, the arches of your feet, the ankles, the calf muscles, your shin bones heavy. The backs of your knees to soften, your thigh bones, the muscles wrapped around them, your hips, your glutes, the lower body. Just see if you can relax it a little bit further. And then out to the fingertips, the space between the fingers, the palms of your hands, your wrists, your forearm bones, your elbow crease, upper arms, armpit, shoulders. Allow your low back, your mid back, the upper back, neck. Feel the body surrender and just relax. If you have something you want to focus on, imagine the muscles melting away from the bones and into the ground beneath you, rooting into this moment. It's like a deep surrender. Maybe the more you let go physically, it transfers energetically. We energetically feel like we're releasing, we're shedding. Take an exhale. Even out through the mouth, a long sigh. And then the jaw, the cheekbones, the inner creases of the eyes, the outer creases of the eyes, your brow bones, your forehead, your scalp, your skull, your brain, your whole being melting, surrendering, offering itself up to the moment at hand. And let's stay for 5 more inhales and exhales. And then we'll start to add movement slowly. I'm going to step away from the screen so the volume might change. Just take note. Wiggle your fingers, your toes if you aren't already. Roll your wrists, your ankles. Take the arms overhead, stretching. And then just walk your feet over to the bottom right corner of your mat. Reach your arms up and over to the top right corner of your mat. It's a lying side bending pose on your back. So supine bend, lateral flexion. And the arms might grab for opposite elbows here on your back. You can come to seated if being on your back isn't going to work for you. So we're bending over to the right. The left ribs are opening. And if you'd like, you can cross that left ankle on top of the right. We'll just stay here for 3 breaths, 3 cycles of breath. Notice where you feel the inhale, where you feel the exhale. Focusing on this pose, this moment, using this practice as a tool to focus. Deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. You'll slowly walk it through the center. You can uncross the ankles, stretch the arms up and over again. And then walking your feet to the bottom, the left corner of your mat. The arms up and over to the left. And again, you can grab opposite elbows, keeping the shoulder blades down, or even grab that right wrist with the left hand. Stay for your 3 cycles. Right ankle might cross on top of left. I don't know if I said that already. And that's the thing about focus, it takes work, it takes practice. We tend to become better at it the more frequently we utilize it, as are many things, right? So check in, slow down, take a deep breath. Exhale, let it go, uncross the ankles, release the hands, the elbows, come through center, take a nice big stretch. And then knees into your chest, a big squeeze. You'll rock a little side to side. And then eventually top to bottom, rocking and rolling along the length of your spine till we come up to hands and knees, tabletop pose. And when we get to this hands and knees, we're gonna just take your gaze out in front of you, our drishti, right? Where do you put your attention? So when we look down underneath us, it tends to create this rounding in the shoulders. The chin and the pubic bone kind of mimic each other. So as you start to tuck the tailbone, the pelvis might start to tilt. So let's try to find a little length first. Put our gaze forward, extend ourselves, expand ourselves. Press the ground away with the hands, the shins. The tops of the feet are down. You can have them tucked if you'd like, stretching the arches. Let's just hold a square here, this box shape. Breathe in. Fixate your gaze on a spot. And then exhale. Let's take that right leg back, tucking the toes in behind you. try to keep your gaze forward. Inhale, broaden the sternum, reaching forward. Broaden the collarbone, driving that right heel back at the same time as you exhale. Feeling a stretch in the calves. Take a deep breath in. Exhale here. And then inhale, lift that right leg up. As you exhale, you're going to cross it back behind you and over to the left. So the toes will tuck. You'll look over your left shoulder. Breathe into the right side. And as you exhale, look forward. And a big inhale, step that right foot as far up as you can outside of your right hand. I'm going to spin so you can see this. Both hands inside that right foot. Scoot your left knee back. You can place that blanket underneath the knee to help with any discomfort you might have there. Bringing your block or blocks underneath the forearms if you'd like, or even the palms if feeling your chest lift better serve you today. We'll get right into that left hip flexor. And there's a little bit of contraction in that right hip. So you can scoot that right foot a little more forward so you can lift up out of the pelvis and bringing the shoulders a little closer over the hips. You can even turn that right foot out at a slight pivot on the heel and peel the sole of that right foot open. I like to take my stance a little wider when I do that so you can bring that left hand even to the edge of your mat. Dropping the hips, looking over that right shoulder. But let's stay for like a minute. So give you some time to find it. You can notice where you're looking now, how that's affecting the pose. When we focus our gaze, how does that impact the chatter? Take deep breaths in and out. Notice where you're clenching, you're holding. If you did so on purpose, right? Was that with focused effort, or is this habitual practice? Habit settling into the body, the mind. Where do we go? How can we utilize focus to bring attention and intention to the moment at hand? You have a steady breath. Take 3 more rounds. Long filling inhale. Maybe exhale through the mouth. Let everything melt a little closer into the ground. Let the audible exhale suggest to the body the ability to release, to let go. And with the inhale, if you're on your forearms, you can work up to the palms of your hands. If your toes are turned out, come onto the soles, bring them back forward. As you exhale, you're just going to tuck those left toes, lift the left knee, and just step back to a downward dog. So I don't usually teach down dog in this class, but we're just going to take a nice little bent knee down dog. Toes tucked, knees bent. Try to lift the hips up with the help of the hamstrings. Take a deep breath in, look back. And exhale, bring those knees down to the ground. You might step off your blanket for table. We'll just take that gaze out in front of us again. Try to fixate it on the spot. And as you exhale, you'll extend the left leg back, driving the heel to the wall behind you. Keep breathing in, reaching the sternum forward. Try to elongate. Find your oppositions to create volume within yourself, within this moment. That 2 things reaching in opposite directions gives us a chance to expand within. And on your inhale, you're going to float the left leg up. And you're going to cross it back behind you as you breathe out. Over, back behind that right knee to the right side of your mat. Look over the shoulder for that for the right side of your mat. Your left ribs open, a deep breath in. Keep pressing the ground away. As you exhale, look forward and then breathe in. Step that left foot outside the left pinky fingers. Help it forward. Slide that right knee back. Make this side its own practice, its own experience. We have this tendency to want to equate right and left and like make it all equal parts and even. But the reality is that each side's a little bit different. We're a little asymmetrical. One hip's probably a little bit higher, tighter than the other. How intensely you feel this in your muscles, your tissues, your joints will vary from side to side. So create what you need. We'll be here for a while. You can turn on your left heel, pivot to the corner, and then even peel the sole of the foot up. You won't walk lopsided if you decide to mix it up and do something else because it feels better on this side. Take this practice with focus and attention where you are into this intuitive layer. Your body knows what it wants. It'll be like, oh yeah, keep going. And it will also be like, no thanks. So when we use that focus, our energy, what is it that we want it to look like? And some of that is what don't we want? Keep breathing. Steady breaths in, steady breaths out. Take that last little bit of time here. Notice where you're clenching, habitually planting tension. Anything that's transferred in the body from the mind into the body, vice versa. Take your last 3 cycles of breath. Nice long inhale. And a full exhale. You'll work up to the palms of your hands as you breathe in. You'll bring your toes back to forward. And then tucking the right toes, inhale, lift the knee. I want you to look forward, okay? And try, as you look forward, you'll lightly step that left foot back and bend knee down dog, really elongate the spine. And finally, the chin will drop in. Big breath in. Exhale, knees down to the ground. Let's just find a comfortable seated posture. You can sit on a blanket or a block. Tilting the pelvis slightly forward. Just take the arms out to the side, reach them apart. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Palms can turn up. Your ribs may start to display here, okay? So bring your focus to the body. Notice what happens with the arms. They're working a little bit here, right? I want you to knit those front ribs in a little and then reach up a little longer. Breathe in. And as you exhale, left hand beside your hip, reach the right arm up and over as you bend. Exhale, plug your right hip into the ground, drop your left shoulder away from your ear, and then inhale. Look up to your right palm. That feels available today. Exhale, let's come through center. Inhale, reach your left arm up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, side bend over to your right, keeping your left hip plugged in. Reach and expand from hip to fingertips. You can soften the right shoulder, you can look down or even up to the left hand. Breathe in. And breathe out, come on up to seated. So we'll start to add a little bit here. Left hand stays down, inhale, reach that right arm up. As you exhale, side bend slightly to your left. Inhale, pull that right shoulder back, looking up, noticing how that might give you more space. And as you exhale, looking down, bringing that right shoulder forward. Breathe in as you look up, reach the right shoulder back. And exhale, find that gaze downward, reaching that right shoulder forward. 2 more of those. Breathe in, back, and up. Exhale, forward, and down. Inhale, up, and back. Exhale, forward, and down. Inhale through neutral or that center side bend, right? Reaching the shoulder neutrally. And exhale, come on back up to seated. Let's lift the left arm up to the ceiling, breathing in. And as you breathe out, bend over to your right. Draw that left shoulder back as you inhale, looking up. And exhale, looking down. Maybe tracing your gaze, you're focusing right where you are. Maybe the eyes wandered a little bit, the mind skipped off. Be gracious with yourself. We'll take 2 more of these. I think we took like 4. Exhaling forward and down. Breathing in, up and back. Exhale forward and down, really reaching if that feels right. Inhale through center, looking forward, bending to your right, and then exhale, come on up through center. And we'll just extend the legs out in front of us, give them a little shake, shake. Shake it out. Point and flex your toes. It might feel nice on the ankles. Okay, we're gonna open the hips and then we'll get into the outside of them and then we'll get to the front of them. I promise we'll get there. So let's take the left leg, right leg out apart. Scoot yourself up to the edge. You've got your blanket. I really suggest sitting on the back so you can tilt your pelvis slightly forward. If you have a lot of like hyperflexion in your feet, it's like a habit of mine from all the efforted yoga practices. I just like move into flexion and stretch. Try to soften the arches of your feet, soften your toes. Start to twist to your left. Bring your left hand behind you, and it might rest on a block, okay? You might even bring a block in front of you as well. So your right hand can rest on it. We're gonna inhale for length. And as you exhale, bring it out, look back behind you over your left shoulder. And just stay here, taking the twist, wringing out. We'll hold in a seated twist for about a minute or so, a little bit longer. I like to have a little timer. If the twist ever becomes too much, you can kind of soften the gaze first, walk the twist in a little, and then re-ring the spine. When we think about wringing out a towel, right, when you like think about those motions with your hands, you're spiraling in 2 opposite directions. So sit bones plugged in, your crown is twirling the spigot of your spine. You're wringing your organs out within you, squeezing them from the inside out. Notice what you're holding, the back, the hips, the base. What takes your attention mentally? A deep breath in. Exhale. Let the breath fall, and then you'll inhale through center. Exhale, just find neutral here for a moment. Just take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it out. And then you'll breathe in as you sit a little taller and begin to breathe out as you twist to your right. Taking those blocks with you if you have them for under the hands. we want the props to support us in this, right? So it's like a stretch. It's a little bit of effort. It's a little bit of ease. Maybe a little more ease than effort. Deep breath in to sit up tall. Exhale, looking over your right shoulder. Notice where the breath goes naturally, where it might resist. Using your body, this moment, the senses to focus ourselves, to keep bringing ourselves back. Long breaths in and out. Take a full breath in, sit a little taller. Exhale, bringing it out. One more deep breath in. And exhale. Slowly come through center, take a deep breath in. And sitting in neutral here, exhale, let it out. We're going to start to bring ourselves forward just for a little bit. You'll bring the blocks in front of you if you'd like. And then just starting to hinge at the waist. It doesn't have to be very far forward. Tucking the chin in finally. Notice if you're looking out in front of you and your shoulders sink, see if you can really look down. Encourage the pose with the gaze. Might be a lot on those hamstrings, so be patient with them. Imagining space where you might be feeling a stretch, a sensation, a tension in the legs. Might feel good to point and flex a little here as you fold. Take 3 full deep rounds on your own. With the back exposed a bit here, you can exaggerate that inhale a little bit more into the back of the lungs and find a stretch for the back body if you'd like. One more round. Deep breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. Then you will slowly walk the hands in. You can stay put on your blanket. Just bring your right leg forward in front of you. And you're going to bend your left knee, bringing the heel towards the glute, okay? And you're going to step that left foot up and over the right thigh. And then to the best of your ability, you're going to start to walk your left foot back outside of your right hip. So the left knee is trying to stack on top of the right knee for half cow. It's not, you have to, right, for this, bring the blocks in. Your knee might be out to the side a little bit more. It might be good to get like a block underneath this thigh bone at an angle. You can put a blanket there, right? Meet yourself where you are today. And then the fold is where we'll start to experience this pose even more. So as you start to bend from the waist, you might start to really feel the back of that right leg, even the outside of that right hip. If you want to take it a little bit further, you can walk it around. I like to walk inside of the left shin, so bringing the block. You can, just so you can lower the upper body a little bit more, but maintain support, you can add a block underneath the forearms. Notice if your right foot wants to move into flexion because there's tension in the hip and the leg. See if you can soften the effort there. Find your gaze somewhere. Take a steady focus. And we'll take those 3 cycles of breath in and out. Deep breath into the back of the lungs. Full breath out as you fold maybe a little deeper. Deep breath in. Full breath out. You're off to your right. You'll come back to center. Breathing in or walking the hands in as you breathe out. And then just help that left leg up and off. You can take a couple little like cradles here, getting into that left hip joint. And then allow your left leg to go long, shake it out. Let's just take a deep breath in. Exhale, side. Bend your right knee in, heel towards your bottom, and then step that right foot up and over. And then you'll start to walk that right foot towards the outer left hip. Okay, trying to stack right knee best you can on top of that left knee. So it may, you may get them right and nice stacked, and it may feel like your right knee is a mile away from your left knee. There's not a right or a wrong to this. We'll just work our way into your fold. Add the props where you'd like them to support you. Know that this side will feel different than the other. Feeling into that left hip maybe a bit more. You can bring it over to the left. Steady breaths in and out. Let's take 3 more rounds of breath. Big inhale all the way into the back of your lungs. Notice where your gaze goes. How does that impact the shape, the mental patterns, the thoughts that we have? You're off to the side, bring it through center. Let's take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, slowly sit up tall. You'll help that right leg up and off as you inhale and exhale, maybe a round of breath or so here, taking that femur into the hip, cradling, rocking the baby here, and then slowly let right leg meet left. Let's shake them out. You just walk those hands back behind you. And in this, we're just opening up the chest a little bit. You'll walk those hands back. You can turn the fingers back and just lift the heart slightly, lift the chin. Notice as you look up, how does that help or focus, bring any more room in the pose. Maybe you can feel the heart reach up a little bit more as you look up, lift the, pressing the hands down, opening the front body. One more exhale. You'll start to bring your chin forward. And then breathing and sitting up tall. Okay, onto our sides for our pose of the week. Side bend here. I really think of like Burt Reynolds every time I think of this. Like getting real sassy on our side. You can stack up your blankets. I have a bolster that I'm just gonna lay another blanket on top of, and then you can even have a block up at the top and maybe a block in front of you. Your ribs are gonna come over. This is that, real sultry thing going on. And your ribs will come up and over, but I want your shoulder on the ground. And then your head can rest on the block. You can even bring a block underneath the hand and just get comfortable. The knees can be bent and slightly stacked, or the legs can stay nice and long with the feet slightly staggered if you'd like. It doesn't matter which leg's in front or back, but you'll choose a variation for yourself. And we're gonna hold this for about 3 minutes. So make it comfortable. Notice that if you have any numbness, tingliness, you can kind of come out and then go back in. You may not like that block under the head. You might rest it on the arm like a little pillow. The practice helps us, become flexible where we become firm and rigid. Bring effort to what's kind of gone lethargic or dull. So you probably need a little bit of both of those things. Notice where you're looking. The eyes are wandering, the mind wandering. The mind wandering, or are the eyes just kind of landing casually in the pose? What's it like when we deeply focus with our attention, our intention, our gaze? You focus on your breath, how it feels in the body, the sensation of the lungs expanding and contracting. As you've been focusing on the poses and the practice, and you start to notice any patterns there, any ways in which you're doing things, it's our chance to check in. How do we want to show up in the world? Who do we want to show up in the world as? And are these ways of existing honoring that? Take a long breath in. Feel the left ribs open, a full breath out. You use your hands to support you as you come out of the pose. Okay, so you can bend the knees in first if the legs are extended, and then press into that top hand. Help yourself up. We're just going to swing the legs out in front of us. Okay, shake it out. Sit up tall, take a long inhale. A full exhale. My suggestion would be to just flip over onto your side, leave your props where they are. Okay, come onto that left hip. And then start to let your left ribs rest on your blanket and bolsters and pillows, whatever you've got. Letting that left shoulder come down to the ground, bending over, maybe separating the feet or bending the knees and stacking them up. A pillow with the arms for the legs as you settle in. This time the right side body's opening. So get in there and we'll hold for a few minutes. Find your breath, fix your gaze. When you catch yourself wandering off to the future, to the past, to a different place, that this is a practice, right? Slowly try to bring your focus, your attention back to where you are, as you are, without judgment, without the need to categorize good, bad, right, wrong. Focus on just being. Bring your attention to your breath, the temperature of the room, going through those senses again, feeling your way, smelling, listening. Notice how two things might occur at the same time, both as your left side body contracts, your right side body opens. That the oppositions, the opposites exist together to create the whole experience. Utilizing the chance to focus may translate to how we show up in the world. Where do we exist, in both capacities? In firmness, where we have to kind of create boundaries and hard lines to work towards our vision, to what we want our attention on, and also staying open and soft to the possibility. Let's take a deep breath in, a full breath out. Bending those knees if the legs were extended and staggered, putting some weight into the hands. And you'll slowly come up. That right hand kind of supporting you. Really, after all that letting go, just start aggressively moving through the practice, kind of ricochets our energy. So carrying that slowness, that focused energy with you, coming up to seated. And then we'll let the legs go long in front of you, shake them out. Reach up as you inhale. And then slowly exhale, begin to fold forward. Pause about halfway down, let your arms just fall down to the ground. Shake your legs out. Maybe bend your knees a little, feel your belly on your thighs. Take a deep breath in, and then just exhale, tuck your chin. Look for your belly button, look for the sternum, even with the eyes looking down. Reach the crown of your head forward. Let your sit bones be heavy as you breathe out. Just 3 rounds of breath here, in and out. Way into the back of your lungs, sit bones to the base of your skull, expanding physically, energetically. Breathe in. Exhale to melt in. Last deep breath in. And a full exhale out. And you'll slowly sit up tall. You'll walk your hands in. We'll set up to kind of open up those hip flexors here before we bring it down to the end of our practice. I'm going to suggest taking your blanket up to the top of your mat. A block in a blanket or a block in a bolster might feel nice, or just a bolster might feel nice, depending on how much stretch you want for the hip flexors. How firm and tall is where we'll take this. We're going to take supported bridge. And so with supported bridge, really placement is important, okay? We want to protect our back as we elongate the front body. So you'll come onto your backs, head and shoulders can rest on your blanket, lift your head, or hips up off the ground, and sliding your props underneath your sit bones. So the back of your butthole and the sit bones, okay? are supported by the props. And if you have them taller and it feels good, you can keep the feet planted. If it feels well to do so, you might extend the legs 1 foot at a time, 1 leg at a time, reaching forward. And then even adding in the arms here. Notice where you slink and dump into this. For me, I realize I may not want the blanket, but I want it up back behind my hands. And so it gives my shoulders a little more range of motion. A little more support there instead of forcing the range of motion. So you'll choose how you want to get spacious in this, but we'll hold this pose for a short while. So you've got a few minutes to be here. Make it comfortable. Make it your own. Add things, take them out. Getting inverted doesn't feel right. You can do just like a seated, like a reclining pose. You prop up your blocks and just come to rest. So lots of options. And then plant your gaze somewhere, maybe up on the ceiling, fixating on this spot. Take note of where you land your gaze. What colors do you see? What shapes? What is there a pattern print? What comes to mind? Breathing in and out. You may take one of those releasing exhales through the mouth, just that audible sigh. Might be nice to just close the eyes, turn the gaze inward. As you hold the pose, this yin practice, right, where we stay and we hold, we find stillness. Where do we go? What happens with our thoughts? Where do we go in the body? Where does the tension creep in, the effort? For most of us, we'll start to contract in the navel, around the shoulders, the jaw, the forehead, right? The same few places the glutes might even start to try to engage. We're just checking in with our patterns. We're slowing down long enough to focus on the moment at hand and take note of what occurs. If you're feeling something in the body and you want to take it further, focusing your energy there to create that for yourself, that you have this power in this moment to influence what occurs. Take our last few breaths here. Really Exaggerate the inhale into the collarbone, opening up the belly, stretching apart. Exhale to soften. Deep breath in. Exhale, let it out. You'll walk the feet in if you bent the knees. Or you'll walk the feet in if you extended the legs, bending the knees. That is what I meant. Your feet will plant firmly, okay? Really feel the ground beneath your toes, your soles. Lift your hips up. And then scoot your props aside. And when you lower your hips down, resist the urge to hug the knees in, okay? We've just elongated the spine. We've given all of this space to the front of the spine. We don't want to necessarily ricochet in the opposite direction. So as you hold here, once your hips come down, walk your feet apart, and then let your knees buckle in so the inner knees can touch, the a little tensing of the legs together, still feeling the soles on the ground. And then you have the option to give yourself a hug around the chest with just the arms. Again, leaving the feet on the ground, finding this exaggeration of the natural curve of the spine, natural curves of the spine. So the slight forward bend in the chest, the slight back bend in the low back. A little space beneath the space between the neck and the mat. And on an exhale, you can soften the arms, switch which arms on top, take another full round of breath or so. And finally, landing, you'll bring the feet together. Allow the knees to fall apart. Bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. Closing the eyes, focusing inward here. Coming to the conclusion, right, the end of this practice, that all things that begin eventually end. How would you like to create this for yourself? What will it look like? Starting to visualize it, creating our vision. What do we want to set our sights on? How do we want our energy to be exerted? Take a deep breath in. Exhale, sigh, and then start to set that up for yourself here. So it might be a blanket over the body. It might be putting on your socks and a long sleeve. It might be a little pillow for the head to rest in Shavasana. I like to rest my hands on the blocks with the edge of the wrist coming to the edge of the block so that upper arm bone can settle into the shoulder girdle a little more proper and comfortable. Each piece to make this the most relaxing experience for yourself, or whatever it is that you envisioned it to be. Encouraging it and not exerting the energy where it doesn't line up with your vision. So whatever that looks like, you can dim the lights or turn down the music or turn it up, just whatever you do, choosing, bringing that focus to it, being very intentional with it, and then settling in. I'll hold this here for the last little bit of class. You don't have to worry about the time, where you are. I'll keep an eye on that for us. Let the breath go, let the effort go. Allow yourself to just be wherever you've decided to land, settle in. If you've wandered off, wherever you've wandered to, be gentle, be gracious with yourself as you return. Take a scan of your body from the crown of your head out to your fingertips, to the soles of your feet. Feel into this moment, the air around the skin, the sounds near and far, images behind the eyelids, any colors, any shapes. Notice any scents lingering around, any tastes on the palate, and start to become hyper aware of where you are and how you are. Focus, attention, intention, bringing them all together. And then adding in the movements, the stretches that feel right. Fingers, you might expand them, contract them, roll the wrists, reach the arms overhead, take the head from side to side. You might turn the tops of your thighs to the ceiling as you walk your feet towards your sit bones and come over onto a side, pausing. And then from your side and up to seated, allowing the head to rest over the heart over the root. Sit bones plugging in, crown lifted and expanding us upward. And allowing the palms to meet over the heart. Feeling here this union, this effort. And dropping chin towards chest, moment of gratitude for your effort, your dedication, this practice reminding us of a union deep within. So we may focus to see ourselves and be ourselves, receive ourselves as whole and abundant and full of possibility. Bowing forward to seal your practice. Namaste.